So business, just like life, is a journey. It really is. And we forget this sometimes. We forget that it's a journey. We forget that there's a process. We forget that there's going to be good, there's going to be bad, there's going to be ups and downs, there's going to be an ebb and a flow, right? We all like to, listen to these great motivational speakers, right? Where they talk about the titans of the industry, right? We like to hear them talk about how, if your business is like this, then there's a problem. It should all be up, right? It's not. It's not all up. There's always going to be an ebb and a flow, right? It should just, at the end of the day, be more up than down. And that's what some people miss. There should be more up than down, but ultimately, there's going to be some down. There's going to be some bounce. There's going to be some obstacles. Sometimes it's not going to go as easy as you think. Sometimes it's not going to go at all the way that you think. Sometimes you're going to have to completely revamp, change, or alter your whole, even the path that you're on. I was inspired recently, once again, by my homeboy Carlos. He was talking about, he was interviewing Dr. Sigler. Dr. Andrew Sigler is a he's a music professor. He was at UT and now he's at University of Tennessee, I believe. He's an incredible professor, his reputation is just out of this world. And Carlos is a guy who's got incredible insight. But he was doing an interview with him on his podcast, and they were just talking about, these obstacles that you face when you come out of college, right? You get your degree, and a lot of people think that there's this next step, right? I remember me and my partner Garrett, we were talking about when he was going through school and he was nearing the end of his first degree. And as he was nearing the end of his first degree, he had to change his plan because he realized that the path that he was on wasn't the path that he wanted. He needed to change his degree. And when he went and spoke to an advisor, and they talked about, well, a lot of your credits are transferable. They're going to totally be fine in that other degree plan. But by altering your degree plan, there's going to be a few extra classes that you're going to end up having to take, and it may set you back another semester. And he was like, losing that semester was worth it because he didn't see it as a loss as much as gaining that ground in that profession that he wanted, right? And Carlos talked about when he got to the end of his degree and he got his music, he got a degree in music composition and with a focus in classical guitar, I believe is what his degree was. But I remember Carlos talking about how when he got out of college that he instantly had to go, he had to get a job, had to make money, right? And he was trying to make job and he was parking cars. And he was working for 2 hotels, working 70, 80 hours a week, right? I remember myself, I came out of college, right? At first, I was putting myself through college or kind of trying to put myself through college, growing my business, right? But I was going to school for psychology. And I was growing this business where I was reselling, right? I was flipping products. I would find deals on great products, flea markets, thrift stores, Goodwill, Salvation Army, anything, yard sales. I was finding deals on products. And I would take these products and go sell them here, there, whatever, on the different platforms that I had. I had eBay. Eventually, I got into Etsy, Reverb, Posh. I was running multiple online stores. And I was doing this while I was going through college. When I was initially going through college, I was just doing eBay. I was also working as a cook. None of this has anything to do with psychology, but I was going to school for psychology. Well, as I got involved in Phi Theta Kappa, I started doing volunteer work, right? It helped to look good on, on your scholarship applications, transcripts, things like that. It looked good. And ultimately, that's what I wanted at first. And then I got involved in different charities and things like that. And I grew a passion for what I was doing. I understood who I was helping. I learned the impact that I was making. I wasn't just showing up and doing this little event. No, I was actually making an impact because I met some of the people that I was trying to help. And I started understanding the impact that I was having. Not just the people that I was trying to help, but people who was organizing some of these different organizations that they were either in administration or they were fundraising or just different positions, right? And as I met them and understood what all went into their business and what all they gave back to the community and stuff, then I started understanding more how I was actually helping. That got me more involved. Again, nothing to do with psychology. But one of the things that we started doing is we started helping out at the Austin State Hospital. We'd go by and do these. One of the girls that I worked with, she started doing these little parties. We'd go to Austin State Hospital and we'd make them like this big potluck lunch and just hang out with them. I mean, it wasn't, they didn't bring food, but we all brought food. All of us brought different types of foods and things like that we could all make this little event to make the patients happy, to kind of brighten their day, right? And we would do this twice in a semester, which honestly doesn't seem like a lot, but it took a lot of organization. And so the Austin State Hospital, that's actually the Texas State Psychiatric Hospital. It's a psych hospital. So that was something that fell in line with what I wanted to do. It fell in line with like my career plan. And so as I was doing this, then I met a lot of the administrators at the facility at the Austin State Hospital. And I was like, what do I got to do to get a job here? Me and this other girl who actually, Pam, she was the one who started the whole, the little charity event, the little fundraising event where we'd make these she was the one who initiated that. And me and her, she was actually the first one to approach them and see about getting work because she was also going to school for psychology. And then she reached out to me and was like, Corey, we actually don't have to have a degree yet to start working here. We just started at a really low level. And I was like, that's awesome. So I got, anyways, long story, but it doesn't matter. That was the first time I started working towards something that I felt was in line with my career. I ended up working there for 2.5 years. I ended up taking a job, it wasn't really a job, it was a position. When I got to UT, when I transferred from Austin Community College to the University of Texas, I got a position as a research assistant in the social psychology research lab, and that really changed my whole focus on what I wanted to study and what I wanted to understand in psychology. And I always knew I wanted to be able to help people, but I also knew that I wanted a big focus on research and a big focus on like writing and public speaking, which this isn't really public speaking, but I am getting to speak out about the things I believe in, which this falls in line with that passion as well. So I'm very grateful and thankful for the way I'm able to speak through YouTube, and eventually I'd like to have bigger platform. I'd like to have that opportunity to be elsewhere where I can speak to more people at once and actually have like an open dialogue. I'm not there yet, but that's okay. The thing is I worked as a cook. I did construction, I did maintenance, I did janitorial work, I did I worked in fast food, multiple fast food places, Taco Bell, Burger King. I worked for a music store as a shipping and receiving manager. I've had multiple business ventures of my own where I've launched businesses with a partner, a friend, a family member. I tell you, everybody says don't work for the family. Tread lightly. tread lightly. If you think you've got that family member that, you know what, this person is different and I can work with them, tread lightly. So ultimately I had multiple business ventures that all fizzled out, failed. They completely crashed, burned, crippled, just crumbled right in front of me, all because of either bad marketing, bad product, bad partner. Frequently it was bad partner, or we ran out of funding. We had lack of funds to make things happen. There was lots of reasons that I can say that things didn't work out. And that's ultimately what I've been using my platform here to share, is a lot of different things that you can do differently to learn from my past mistakes, so you don't make those same transitions yourself and you don't go through those same trials, tribulations, and obstacles that I faced. You can set yourself up and position yourself in a better place so you can progress more smoothly and more quickly. But even still, with all the information at your hands, even with everything that I could have to offer you, even if you took everything from even more brilliant men than myself, and you took the opportunity to soak all that information out, and you took everything down and you set everything up, and you had, whiteboards, Post-its, you had everything, and you're sitting here, you planned everything out for months, even years before you actually launched your business will still face obstacles. It will still face things that you never expected it to face. You're going to come in contact with things that couldn't have been foreseen. Now, that can be discouraging to some. It really can. To some, the idea of knowing that there's going to be obstacles no matter what they do, that's exactly why they want a regular job. They want to work a 9 to 5. They want to work a job knowing that, hey, these are my hours, this is my paycheck, this are my tasks for the day. They want to know that all that's mapped out. Some people don't like working for small mom and pop companies, right? Because if you've ever worked for one, you know that there's this idea of all hands on deck. It's a phrase that every small business knows, because everybody's got a position, everybody's got a specialty, everybody's got something that they're incredibly skilled at, right? But there's going to be those days where something changes, where it's an interesting circumstance, where it's like, you know what? All hands on deck. That means I want every employee to pitch in to do this project right now. It doesn't matter if it's your skill, doesn't matter if it's your talent, doesn't matter if you know anything about that particular thing. I want those bodies right here, and we're gonna make this thing happen, and then you'll go back to doing what you do. Some people don't like that. Some people don't feel like they're pulled out of their comfort zone. Some people thrive under that because they find it exciting. I know I did. I worked for an incredible music store in Austin, Texas, Straight Music, and it was founded by the Straight family, and they were right there. Dan Straight founded the company. Then Robert, his son, took over, and Clint, Robert's son, was right there. They were all there. Dan came to visit the store from time to time, even though he had since retired. Robert was, incredibly active, even though at that point, at that level, he didn't have to be anymore. Clint was there. They had an incredible staff. They had lots of employees doing great job, doing great work. But Robert wanted his hands on everything. Clint wanted his hands on everything. They wanted to be a part of watching their company and their business grow. That's an important quality and an incredibly overlooked quality in so many companies, because companies get to this point where owners are happy to step away. They weren't happy to step away. They were happy to be involved, but they also wanted their employees to be involved. They wanted those days. It's like, hey, we're acquiring another music store. There's another music store going out of business. We're going to acquire that. All hands on deck. Let's go over there. Let's clean things up. Everybody get involved, right? And like I said, I loved it. It was exciting. I felt like every day was a new adventure, and I felt like I was a part of something big. And some people feel that way. And some people, let's just go with the flow. It's like, hey, well, today's all hands on deck day. Today's the day that I work in my department. Today's the day that I crunch my numbers. Today's the day that I do this or that or whatever. And they're, like I said, easygoing. They're happy to be flexible, but it doesn't really affect them directly all that much. It doesn't just, mentally, emotionally, psychologically, it doesn't bother them. It doesn't really faze them. Like I said, for me, I thrived on it. I got excited about this. There are some people who don't like that, though. Some people who struggle with that. I've got a member of my family right now who works for a small company like that, and a mom and pop company, and he doesn't really appreciate the inconsistency. It's a much smaller company than the music store I was working for, but he struggles with the inconsistency. He wants his job to be solidified. He wants to know that he works these days, he works these hours. There's never going to be a day where he comes in and there's just not enough work for you today. You can go ahead and go on home. Which, why would anybody want that kind of volatility, so to speak, in your company? But it's how construction companies work. It's how development companies work. It's how maintenance style companies work. And it's also especially how mom and pop companies work. Because if it's a company that's ran by like 5 people, there's only 5 people in the entire company, then the amount of workload that they can take has to be comparable to the amount of work they can actually do. So they can't sign up for work and take jobs and contracts that they're not ready for yet. So sometimes by the time they're ready for them, those contracts may no longer be available because they may have needed that work done immediately and they were too small of a company to make that happen. That's kind of a balance that you kind of go through with these kind of companies. Like I said, some people struggle with this, and that's okay. Some people struggle with the volatility and the inconsistencies of running your own company, running your own business. And that's okay also. What's most important is that you're aware of your own self. You're aware that that's something that you're not okay with. You're aware that you're not comfortable running your own company. You're not comfortable being that guy. You'd rather be the guy who's working a 9-to-5 job. You know what? We need these guys. We need the guys that are working a normal job. And it's frowned upon in our society on social media and things like that. It's like, oh, well, you're working for the man. You know what? If you're one of the guys trying to grow a business, if you want your business to actually be big enough and successful enough, you're going to need guys working for you. There's nothing wrong with having employees. There's nothing wrong with being an employee. And we need to stop shaming people for being an employee. We need to stop making people feel bad or guilty or less than for being an employee. Being an employee is an important, integral part of our society. And as I said, it's where a lot of people feel comfortable. Especially if you're working for a good company that gives you consistent hours, that gives you consistent good pay, that gives you potential for raises or advancement within the company, gives you potential 401k, stock options, insurance, things like that. I mean, as a cook, I got insurance. As a cook, I was a head cook for Jim's restaurant. I got insurance. It was awesome. I got life insurance. I got dental insurance. My health insurance was discounted. It was awesome. And, oh, wait, no. I paid like $10 for dental, but with my dental, I got free vision. It was really incredible. It was great. It was literally the cheapest insurance I've ever had, and I was just a cook. I was slinging hash, man. For those of y'all who know the difference, there's a big difference between being a short order cook slinging hash and a chef. I was not a chef. I like to think that I know how to cook great food, but it's not what I did as a trade. The point is there's gonna be changes. There's gonna be obstacles. There's going to be things along your journey, and sometimes you have to be willing to change or transition. As you see, I'm not in the field of psychology today. I'm not a psychologist. Some people frown on the education system in our society right now. And there are flaws in our education system, but there always have been. That's the thing. People like, oh, well, education system used to be something and now it's this and that. And it's like, the truth is the education system's always been flawed. It's imperfect because it doesn't fit everyone. It's imperfect because ultimately we want to teach people an encompassing subject, a topic, and there's no way you can include everything. And so because there's no way you can include everything, somebody's always got something to say about what got left out. The education system is flawed because ultimately there's standards by which the states have decided, hey, if you're going to get a degree, you've got to have at least these basic prerequisites. And those prerequisites, sometimes some people feel don't fit into their degree plan. Now, do I believe that anybody in a professional level should know how to read, should know how to use basic comprehension, should have proper grammar, should be able to write, should be able to write should be able to follow instructions. That's what some people miss about when you're taught writing in school, is there's this APA format, there's several different formats, but ultimately those formats are only used in one platform, one place. There's formats that you used in grade school, there's formats that you use in high school, there's formats that you use in college, and then there's formats that you use in grad school. And they vary. But what's interesting is once you get out of school and you have your degrees, those formats will never be used again. Now, some people argue the validity and how some of those formats were once used for this or that, and those formats are just not used anymore except for education. To me, they teach something very critical that's frequently overlooked. It's the ability to write and follow those directions. You have a format, can you follow? Because every company is going to have a format. If you go work for a law office, if you go work for a medical, I worked at Austin State Hospital, and there was different policies working for the state psych hospital. Then my wife, Kimberly, she's worked at different facilities. She's worked in hospice. She's worked in pediatrics. She's worked at long-term care. She's worked at rehab care. She's literally done just about everything. And a lot of them have consistencies, but there have been a few places that she's worked that their policies of documenting things are completely different. She's got to be willing to go in there and follow those instructions and know the importance of following those details to a T. Like exactly, hey, this is our formatting. This is what we're going to follow. This is how it's going to be done, period. Not, well, you're a nurse, so your background isn't in writing, so, go ahead and do it however you want. No. Every company you work for is going to have their policies. When I worked for Taco Bell, I worked my way up to management, but there was policies in the way you filed paperwork in the end of the night. There was a system in the way you broke down, you shut down. It was called the taco system in DOS. Oh my gosh, for those of you who are not young enough or who are not old enough to remember DOS, but we had a DOS based program and it was called Taco. Oh man. But there was a way that all that had to be done. It was structured a certain way. And if you did something out of order, man, I remember both me and my boy Garcia, man, we made a mistake in like our first week. My first week is management, his first week is management, and we made a mistake and we had to scrap a lot of it and start completely over. And what we figured out and got it down to being able to do all the nightly paperwork in about 20 minutes in what we could do throughout the night. We would be like, oh, we entered these data now. We entered this at like 9 o'clock. We entered this at 10 o'clock. And then by closing time, this is the last thing we have to do and it'll be fine. And then in 20 minutes after closing, we're walking out the door. Yeah, within that first week, we made an error that we had to go back and start the paperwork over. And it ended up taking close to an hour to start the whole process over. Whereas had we done everything in the exact order that we were supposed to do and not made that error, it would have been a 20-minute process. I think by people having to go through those systems and those processes of following these programs, these formats, these styles, they learn that. They learn the importance of consistency. They learn the importance of instruction, following instructions. They learn the importance of doing these things. And when they do that, it can be useful in so many other fields of their professional career. So that's just my little side theory on that. But a lot of people have these theories about the education system being broken. Like I said, it's flawed. I 100% agree that it's flawed. It's got many things that it needs to get better at, but ultimately, I don't think the education system is broken, and I also don't think it's a waste. It's frowned upon a lot in our society that, oh, you can get on YouTube and you can learn anything. You can get online and sign up for little master classes here and there and spend $100 rather than $40,000. I spent quite a bit for my education. My education was not wasted. It wasn't wasted. My education is incredibly beneficial in my daily life. I understand statistics. I understand being able to understand. I understand how to comprehend experimental design. When I hear things in the news, hear things in the media, when I see reports of how a business is doing this or it's doing that, I can take what I learned in those experimental design classes, in my statistic classes. I can the years that I spent in the research lab and understanding how accurate, efficient, productive research is actually conducted, and the scrutiny that it's put through in order to get into a reputable, valid publication. I understand those things, and by understanding those things, it helps me to analyze things. It helps me to analyze data and analyze information on a way that when I talk to some other people think I'm insightful, while some other people are like, look, I can't talk to you. And and that's fine. Because I'm extremely critical of most things I read, most things I hear, most things that are brought to me. I'm extremely critical because I understand the high level of scrutiny that it must go through in order to be considered even the remotest bit of validity. I understand that. And many people don't understand that because they haven't gone through those things. They haven't learned those processes. They haven't ever gone through seeing firsthand what it takes to build and design an experiment and push and force it through to fruition, getting it to be validated, getting it to get, acknowledgement, recognition, getting it to be accepted within a field. That process is arduous. That process taught me so much. I use it, like I said, every day. I use the many years that I spent in mathematics help me in business every day. They help me in understanding my investments. My time in school was not wasted. My time in school has taught me to think the way I do. My time in school has helped to develop and hone my skills on a different level. If you decide not to go through formal education and get degrees and things like that, that's totally fine. I don't think that should be frowned upon either. But if you decide to go for a degree and you get a degree, and say you get a degree, but instantly after you graduate, that degree is not what you end up getting your job in, don't beat yourself up. That job may just be a stepping stone to something else in the future. That job may just be one moment. Most of the time it is. And that degree may still come into play in that job that you're working. And if it doesn't, maybe it'll come into play in your next job or your career. My man Carlos worked for a good while parking cars. But now he teaches composition. He's got a YouTube channel where he teaches music composition for video games. He's really talented. I've heard him play instruments. I've heard him play guitar. He's incredibly skilled. I've watched countless of his videos where he develops these video game music, and he's so skilled at it. He's so great at it. But he's teaching people how to do this, and he got a degree in music. And then he was parking cars for a long while. And now he's teaching people to make music. Sometimes you just need to make money to pay your rent, to eat, to keep the lights on. And then you'll get to that next step. But enjoy the journey. Enjoy that process. Like, I urge you to try not to look at that time as lost. Not look at like, oh, well, I'm working as a cook. I'm working parking cars. I'm working at, maintenance, but this is not what I want to do. Just enjoy the journey. Enjoy the people you meet along the way. Enjoy the conversations. God positions us in places for a reason. These things aren't by accident. Sometimes it seems like almost like a job falls into your lap every now and then. Maybe that job fell into your lap not because things were too easy, but maybe because you were supposed to be in that position for a reason. Maybe this was all orchestrated and God plans for you to meet someone, that person is going to influence your life or you're going to impact theirs. I met Carlos by working at a music store. He's been incredibly encouraging, influential, and a great guy. I met my boy Garrett because we both got into Phi Theta Kappa. We were both in different degree plans at the time. I believe when I met him, he was in medical engineering. I believe so. I was going to school for psychology and with a minor in music. And now he's my partner. I met my boy Z, who's a partner of mine. We do investment. He's really taught me how to swing trade. I knew how to investment trade. I knew how to buy in the stock market, but swing trading was a whole different thing that Z has taken the time to really help me understand better and develop my skills in that area. And we've made multiple investments over several years together. And we've got a long future together. It's like family. My boy Garrett, Z, they're like family. And Z, I met through a friend of a friend. A girl I went to high school with happened to be friends with him, and a guy I went to high school with happened to actually be friends with him, and they both, me, Will, and Echo, all three of us moved up to Austin at different times for different reasons. They met Z, and I met Z through them. And it's just on Facebook. It's amazing how sometimes God positions us in places for a reason. Don't let those moments, those positions, don't let them slip away without taking something from it. Whatever that may be. Like I said, you might meet somebody. You might learn something. You might influence somebody. It might give you a key insight into your next venture. A moment in life, you're going to look back and you're going to be like, man, that moment was something. So what I started with and what I'm ending with is business, as is life, is a journey. Education system is part of that journey, whether it's part of your life journey or part of your business journey because you went to school for your career. It's a part of that journey. Embrace the journey. Don't get so hung up on the destination that you are constantly chasing the destination so fast, so arduously, so with such ferocity that you miss the journey. You should give all that you've got to reaching your goals. You should. But just don't miss the journey. Enjoy it. Embrace it. You won't get it again. It's your boy. I got love for y'all. I hope y'all enjoy this. I hope y'all been enjoying my posts. Y'all can check out my other channel with my family, with my boys, the Bayless boys. Right now we are in Wyoming. We're in Oregon. We are Texas boys. This journey, we're only in Wyoming for 13 more weeks. Our journey is taking us all over the place. Enjoy the journey. I know I am. Till next time, I'm out.